Anybody involved in research like mine must navigate the horns of an awkward dilemma. For, in some respects, we are not unlike 21st century priests, professionally condemned to bear with the unburdening of sometimes deeply troubled consciences, whose dark secrets have already driven their bearers to their knees. Breaching confidentiality in the anonymized way I have done here provides some sense of catharsis for me, but what of my broader sense of responsibility to society at large? Should I inform the authorities of these confessions? I've discussed this matter with faculty at Ivy League universities, as well as some of the sharpest minds in England. None of them have given a coherent answer. Someone must have stolen it. There was no way I had just left it at the coffee shop. When did I use it last? Was it at the grocery store? Feverishly, I looked around my apartment for my wallet. I felt like a traveler stricken with sunstroke in the Sahara. It was almost rabid the way I was turning over couch pillows, inspecting every drawer. The key bowl beside the door, I must have rifled through it 10 times before giving in to the obvious conclusion that my wallet was not in the apartment. I really had lost it. I didn't let anything out, but inside my head, I was shrieking curses that would make a sailor blush. I began to search on my phone for office hours of DMV for a new license, and of course, I had to cancel my credit cards. But what I was most torn up about was the picture in my wallet, which was irreplaceable. It was a picture of a young couple on a rainy day, drenched from a summer downpour. The photographer had captured the moment when a handsome man with sandy hair was planting a kiss on his beloved's cheek, she smiling in sudden surprise, just as the picture was taken. She was a beauty. Dark, raven hair, smooth, pale skin, with just enough rose coloring to her cheeks, and sparkling green eyes he could still feel staring deep into his own. On the back of the picture was an address and coordinates scrawled in poor handwriting. The photograph was gone, forever now. I was so angry, so disappointed, so desperate. How could I have been so careless? True enough, the edges were tatty and worn. I'd taken it out of my wallet so many times, just so I could look at her again. I threw the phone down and huffed in frustration, trying to think of some way to get the picture back. The rest of the day, I spent coming up with excuses to skip work. I had to retrace my steps. Each place I went to, no wallet. But the cute brunette barista at the cafe in Painesville sympathetically gave me her number. I asked her to pose for a picture, to be sure I had a name and image to go with the number. Girls liked it when you treated them like models. I saved her on my phone, promised to call her, and continued the hunt. The barista could wait. I wanted to find my wallet. By the end of the day, despite all of my efforts, nada. The lack of results left me feeling more panicked than angry. I was leaving what I thought was the last place I'd gotten gas when I resigned myself to the fact that I would have to come up with an alternative solution. I climbed into my pickup and headed out onto the highway. Turned out I didn't need instructions or maps for where I was going, even if I hadn't been there in years. I took a service road a half hour into the drive, staying on it for another 30 minutes before finding my way onto an old back road. Eventually, I was forced to travel on foot, the road ending in a narrow trail. I grabbed a tarp and shovel from the bed of the truck before making my way through the trees. I checked my location on my phone. Things looked different now, more greenery than I recalled. After a few wrong turns around a confusion of trees, I finally found the rotted stump I'd remembered as my marker. A surge of relief flooded over me as I sat down. I patted it affectionately and wiped the sweat from my brow, pushing back what someone once described as angelic curls, and remembered all the times I'd sat supported on this very spot. That brief moment of rest passed without a shadow. I began to dig, tarp to the right, and the dirt piling up to the left. I was so pissed at myself for not being better prepared. I was in jeans and a polo. My brand new sneakers were getting filthy. I'd not even brought water with me. The panic, though, had gone, replaced by an almost geometrical clarity. My movements smooth, efficient, mechanical almost. I was quick at the beginning, but the deeper I got, the more cautious I had to be. I didn't want to break anything. By the time I was done digging, it was dark out. Overhead, an owl hooted comfortingly. "Hello, gorgeous," I whispered, a faint smile on my lips. I jumped down into the shallow hole, using my phone as a flashlight. I brushed away dirt and interlocked my fingers with her bone phalanges. I raised her skeletal hand to my lips and kissed it. I laid down next to her, tracing my fingers along the curves of her skull. There were dents, fractures, and teeth missing. From her forehead, a chunk of bone was missing too, where I had hit her for the last time. She was my first. You never forget your first. There was such emotion in those big green eyes when she pleaded for her life, or when she begged for me to stop. I felt my heart sink, thinking about the picture I had lost. I would miss looking into those delectable green eyes. I was careful. I took my time to pull her out, piece by piece, counting them as I went, making sure I didn't miss any of her, until all 206 pieces were laid out on the tarp. I continued to count out 17 loose teeth, twice for good measure. Any trace of hair and degraded clothing I included in the pile of remains. I was being more tender with her now than I had been when she was alive. "Looks like I'll have to put you with the others," I told her, my voice struggling to hold up under the weight of disappointment and loss. My wallet. I lost it, you see. I relayed the events of my day as I carefully packed up the tarp and pushed the dirt back into the hole. The sun was rising like a Greek god emerging from the waters by the time I made it back to my truck, tossing my shovel in before laying the tarp down gently. I pulled over the covering to the truck's bed and headed to the field where I kept all my dark-haired beauties. Remembering the barista, I pulled my phone out and looked over the picture she had let me take. She so enjoyed it. Small, almond brown eyes, curly brown hair, and a full mouth, her chubby cheeks wrinkling into dimples when she smiled. "Not as pretty as you," I yelled to the bed of the truck. But none of them ever are. I swiped right and reviewed the next woman, a little older, with no trace of gray in her coal black hair. And she had eyes green as emeralds. I took my eyes off the road another moment as I went to the next picture. It had been a while since I kept a picture I could touch.